Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast, episode 760. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald-Quinn, on this 22nd of February, 2021. A lot to discuss here. I hope everybody out there enjoyed their weekend. Again, we continuously on the East Coast. Well, I shouldn't speak for the whole entire East Coast, but at least the DMV get these fake snowstorms, which, yeah, listen, I think God just knows that DC can't handle snow. So he gives us, a half inch, 2 inches, some little, a little sprinkle. He knows we can't handle snow. But, unlike the Northeast, Philadelphia, New York, Boston has gotten bombarded by snow, Connecticut over the last couple of weeks. But seemingly, should be warming up this week. So hopefully we're looking forward to that. We're going to begin away from the sports with this first article, and something very important happened yesterday. You had of course, yesterday marks the anniversary, the 56th anniversary of the assassination of one Malcolm X, who of course was killed in the auto bomb in Harlem. Growing up, you get the textbook narrative of this. Malcolm X was killed by his own people. You read the autobiography of Malcolm X. He takes the trip to Mecca. He completely shifts his whole mindset in terms of what he thought that the religion was about. In terms of it just not being exclusive for Black men. He goes over to Mecca and sees that there were, white people, white Muslims and Muslims of all, backgrounds. And you get, and again, true story, all of the, you read all biography, you watch the movie, and then things kind of connect. Well, yeah, of course, that's why his own people killed him, because he was going against what they thought, what his initial views were when he was at the height of his powers, of his powers. And then this happens. You get an officer or a former officer in Raymond Wood who was sent in to infiltrate Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and the whole group of Muslims back in the 60s. And, of course, he goes there. He has Malcolm X's, he turns over information that leads to Malcolm X's security not being available the day that he was shot and killed. They get arrested for some, bullshit charge. And he, he cannot live with this. He absolutely just, there was a line in The Wire, the one Butchie said, conscience due cost. Well, clearly this guy's conscience ate at him for, 40 plus years up until he died. And he comes out with this letter, and it gives us another perspective, and it gives us basically what a lot of people had thought to begin with, and that was, of course, that the FBI and the New York NYPD Police Department conspired to kill and assassinate Malcolm X. So I don't know what is going to come of this. As far as, I doubt that there's going to be justice for the family. Can't bring him, Malcolm X is not coming back, and those daughters, he has 6 kids, so 6 kids still don't have a father. And but what I will say, and the reason why this is important, is it forces us to now, especially if you're 30, if you're 40 and under, especially if you're my age and under, if you even are somebody who has an interest in history, forces us to now stray away from this textbook narrative that's been shoved down our throats when we were going to school and throughout the course of the last 40 and 50 years. And now we can do some digging of our own. I'm in a process now. I got so many books that I need to get done before I get to it, but I have a book called the Shield and the Sword, the Shield and the Sword, that depicts the lives of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. I'm looking forward to reading it, and this again. I just you can't emphasize how important this was that this information came out. Um, we are in a shift change in society. Some people call it the third Reconstruction in regards to where this country is going, and I think that for me, we have to rewrite this narrative of our history because to me, fuck the textbooks. Yeah, and I say that in the real. You're speaking for somebody who's been in education for 18 years. Fuck the textbooks. Textbooks are not giving us a real depiction of what transpired. So, you have to, especially as a Black man, you have to educate the youth on, like, no, it didn't go down like this. Read this book, look at this article, go look at this this documentary, that documentary. You have to do your own research. And that's the bottom line. You have to do your own research. We know for years upon years, century upon century, that this country has been living a lie, that this country has been living a lie, especially when it comes to African Americans and the African American story. So it's got to a point where we have to rewrite our own history. And again, you can't rewrite your own history if you don't understand how you got there. It's just not going to happen. And you have to understand what actually happened, what has actually transpired. Now, again, I don't expect much. I don't expect much to come out as far as the investigations go. A lot of those documents were destroyed. A lot of this important information that would have been vital in terms of getting justice probably have been destroyed for years. I mean, especially by the likes of, say, J. Edgar Hoover. So I'm not even concerned about that from that standpoint. Hopefully, this provides some type of closure for the family. I doubt that it will provide a complete closure, but hopefully it can. Hopefully they can somewhat rest easy in terms of because of what transpired yesterday. But the more important part is, I think this will hopefully force more digging by society, by a future generation, by a generation coming up. So again, there's a lot. You're gonna see a lot of stuff come out about this. There's certainly a number of books that have been written about Malcolm X, a number of documentaries. I would Netflix has one that's currently running right now. In terms of, ask the question, who killed Malcolm X? It's like a 6-part series that I would encourage anyone to watch. And then certainly a number of books and literature that you can read about it. We shift towards segue to the NBA. A busy weekend in NBA, busy past week in terms of the NBA. We see COVID hitting again. So the Spurs and Hornets are going to have 5 games postponed between them. The Spurs had 4 players test positive for COVID. And the Spurs actually have been playing well this season. They are, I think, last time I checked, they were 6th in the West, had a record of 16-11. They actually, Popovich has done a phenomenal job this year with that team in the Western Conference, and they were certainly on their way to making the playoffs. So you see that go. Of course, it's not a surprise that COVID strikes. COVID has is done damage throughout the course of this NBA season, throughout the course of the the sports season and all the professional sports leagues and sports leagues around the world. The point is, though, the ideal that again that the NBA is going to do this All-Star is going to go through with this All-Star game come March 7th. It's just like it's amazing to me. I mean, I just think that guys can take all the precautions in the world, can do what's right, and can still come up with COVID. And you're going to Atlanta, a place that is wide open, and you are putting it, you're putting it on the players to stay out the clubs, to have that level of discipline, even just for one night, even if it's just one night. I mean, that is, I'm telling you right now, there are going to be a number of cases that come out of just that one night in terms of COVID cases with All-Star Weekend. I'm telling you that right now. If you think these players are going to stay in the hotel, even just for one night, or even wherever or some of them might even have houses in Atlanta, you think these players are not going to be out when you have a city that is wide open. It's one thing if there was nothing to do in Atlanta. I mean, again, I don't think that they should have an All-Star game, period. Just name the team and go about their business. But of course, we know it's a money grab. They want every dollar known to man with no fans this season, and with money that was lost from last season having no fans, and all the money they had to fork out for the bubble down in Orlando. But there's no way that that those cases are not going to rise from that All-Star game in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta is wide open. Places like Atlanta, places like Houston, those places are wide open, to say the least. Florida, and those are the three of the hot spots around the country, in the country. So, again, hopefully you see minor cases, minor cases come out of that, but you just gotta be realistic. I just don't see how how there's not going to be a spike in cases in the NBA within the NBA circle playing an All-Star game in Atlanta. Big week for the Nets. The Nets not only sweep the LA Lakers and Clippers. That was a great game last night, but they sweep their entire West Coast road trip. They go 5-0. They've won 6 straight. They are second in the Eastern Conference. They're right on the heels of the Philadelphia 76ers. And I talked a lot of shit about the Nets, about everything that could possibly go wrong with the chemistry, with injuries and things of that nature. We didn't talk about the reverse of that. We didn't talk about what would happen if everything went right. And you are seeing what could possibly transpire with everything going right, because that team, and again, this is without Kevin Durant, which I think to me has been somewhat of a blessing in the sky to allow Kyrie Irving and James Harden to solidify their chemistry. And they have been rolling. They toyed. Again, I know the Lakers didn't have Anthony Davis, but still, I mean, they toyed with the Lakers on Thursday night. They absolutely toyed with them. Clippers were playing well coming into that game. They basically controlled that game from start to finish. And they can get any shot they want at any time. They can get any shot. Even the defense has picked up a little bit. And again, they don't, remember, folks, they don't have to be a great defensive team to win a championship. They don't. They can be, if they're like middle of the pack, as a matter of fact, if they're like, in the 15 to 20 range, their offense is so lethal. And they get whatever they get now, they get whatever shots they want. They get open shots. These guys like Joe Harris, Jeff Green, these guys are getting wide open shots. And they can make open shots. Those guys, Jeff Green, the Joe Harris, of course, is a lethal shooter. Those guys can make wide open shots. I mean, wide open shots. Say what you want about Kyrie Irving. Kyrie has come back off his sabbatical. He's played great. I don't want to hear about his shot selection when the guy is averaging 28, shooting over 50% from the floor and 53% from the floor and over 40% from the 3-point line, and it hasn't and basically doesn't miss free throws. And you gotta give Harden credit, a little credit, not a lot, but a little credit for basically sacrificing and wanting, saying, "Hey, I'll be the point guard and I'll take less shots." And he's done that, and he's played great. Now, with that being said, I don't want to hear anything about James Harden being an MVP candidate. That what he did in Houston, beginning of the season, cannot be erased at all. That's still on his record for 2020 for the 2020-2021 season. Yeah, that doesn't you don't. He created a toxic culture. You don't get that erased from your record. Period. So again, he'll be on the All NBA team. He'll be an All Star. But I don't want to hear any talk about James Harden for MVP. But right now, that team is rolling. All they really need is a rebounded defender in the middle. I mean, not even. I mean, it wouldn't even be fair. They got Andre Drummond, but they don't even need somebody. They get a Tristan Thompson like player. They get a banger like that. I mean, they'll be fine. I mean, even somebody like Steven Adams, that type of player. Somebody that can just get rebounds and play some good, decent position defense. This past week, we've seen what aggressive Ben Simmons looks like, and which has to frustrate you if you're a Philadelphia fan. You have to be saying to yourself, where has this been for the last 3 years, and why can't this be a every night occurrence? But he had so he has a game against Utah where he has a 42-point triple double, no Embiid. Last night with Embiid in a game that they lost to Toronto, who's playing great right now. He has 20. He has 28, which is more important. Honestly, I think that game against last night was actually more important than the Utah performance, because it's one thing for him to perform and be aggressive without Embiid there, but if the Sixers want to contend for a championship, they're going to need aggressive Ben Simmons with Embiid in the lineup. But again, aggressive playing right now, aggressive Ben Simmons is a legit top five, top five, top eight player. He really is, because what he does defensively you can't even tabulate what he does in the box scores and what he does defensively. Right now, I can make a case for him being the best perimeter defensive player in the league. I mean, so he's a legit top three defensive player in the league right now. Maybe you got Gobert, probably maybe Gobert, and I mean, right now I could put outside of Gobert. I probably would have him second behind Gobert for defensive player of the year. To be honest with you, he's been that good. He's been that great this year defensively. So again, that trade is still out there though. That trade, I mean, the Bradley Beal trade, it still could be a possibility. Don't think that don't be shocked. As much as they say they love Ben Simmons, don't be shocked if that move is made. Don't be shocked. That's still out there, especially where Ben Simmons is playing right now. We see Zion Williamson, who came into the season with some question marks, in regards to his weight, of course, in regards to durability, in regards to his impact on winning. And this year up until this point, he's basically been 25-7 and shooting over 60% from the field. Um, listen. I think, and they had. By the way, that was a dreadful loss for the Celtics. I mean, to get outscored, I think they got outscored somebody 49-15. It was an embarrassing loss for the Celtics. There's no way you're up by 24 in the second half. You should ever lose a game NBA game up by that many points in the second half. One thing in the first quarter, but in the second half, there's no way they should lose that game. But the Celtics, we all know, have their own issues. What's interesting with Zion, um, I still don't think that they go out their way. They're starting to get better with it, but I think it's gotten to a point where you need to completely run your offense through him, to be honest with you. He's a willing passer. He doesn't force shots. He takes great shots. His shot selection is, I mean, he's literally one of the best right now in terms of shot selection. He's only going to take shots that he can make. He does not take bad shots at all. But you would like to see him get to the line more. I think if they went out their way to get him the ball, I think he could average 30 points easily. Easily, to be honest with you. And there's still times late in games where I don't think they go to him. Now again, Ingram is a very good player. Was an All-Star last year. Will be in the running for a reserve spot this year, though if anybody gets it on that team, it'll be Zion. But I want to see them even feature him that much more in the offense, in their offense, because he's their best player. I mean, it's like I like Ingram a lot, but he is clearly their best player, and that's gonna be an interesting team to watch because right now I don't think they're. I frankly don't think they're well coached. To be honest with you, I think Van Gundy Stan Van Gundy was supposed to come in and instill this somewhat defensive identity, and they've been night in and night out. The Hornets, not the Hornets, they give up a zillion points. I mean, they are terrible defensively. I mean, they're one of these teams where you watch every game because you want to see Zion, but you also watch every game because the score's going to be around in the 120s and 130s. They're just they are they're not. It's just a bad defensive team. As far as the MVP, so a lot of talk has been about the MVP, and I guess it's gotten because this is a condensed season, 72 games. I guess we can kind of start looking at the MVP, even though I wait until basically the last minute to look at the MVP. Not the last minute, but at least at least middle of March. But the season 72 is 10 games less. Right now, I think that Joel Embiid has been the best player in the league. I think if the vote was taken right now, LeBron probably would win. But there's this narrative that is pushing LeBron to be the winner, and it's kind of like a narrative where how dare you give it to anybody else but LeBron, and I don't think that should be the case. If you're being fair and objective about the award, I don't think the media owes LeBron an MVP. I think he has 4 already, and that race is going to be a tight race. With between him and Embiid and Jokic, and even a guy like Damian Lillard should be mentioned. It should be in the mix. If just like Curry could be in the mix as well. If Golden State hits a hot streak. So I think if you're the media, you don't owe LeBron an MVP award. I mean, you really don't. I hope that's not the reason why I like if Joel Embiid goes out there, averages basically 30 and 12, shoots, has number 1 PER, and the Sixers, had the best record in the East, and their record is right there with the Lakers. Joel Embiid should be MVP. But you get the feeling that Joel Embiid will probably have to average like 33 and 14, and the Sixers would have to have probably the best record in the league. You get the feeling that that's going to have to happen in order for LeBron to get his MVP. Though the Lakers have dropped 2 straight following Anthony Davis's injury. So it'll be very interesting to see how in their schedule is going to get harder So very serious to see how they navigate these next 6 or 7 games, or next 9 or 10 games without Anthony Davis. But this MVP, this is going to be a very talked about, polarizing MVP race. Make no mistake about it. It's going to be a very tight and very closely contested MVP race. Didn't get to talk about it last week. Happened towards the latter part of the week. Of course, Carson Wentz is now a Indianapolis Colt. They get a third-round pick in 2021. Eagles get a third-round pick in 2021 and a conditional pick in 2022. I mean, meaning the Colts make the playoffs this year, that pick can turn into a first-round pick. And again, it just shows you how far Carson Wentz's stature has fallen to where, a third and a conditional, basically a third and a possible first for a guy who I thought should have been MVP in 2017, a guy who was once looked upon as being one of the bright young stars at the position. And I did not hear a lot of suitors for Carson Wentz. With that being said, I think Indianapolis is going to absolutely win this trade in a major way, because Indianapolis is that state is despite the fact of the history with Peyton Manning winning the Super Bowl and all the great years he had there, that is a basketball state through and through. They don't have fans. I mean, they love the Pacers, they love the Hoosiers, they love Purdue, they love, of course, high school basketball. Out there is legendary. That is not a football town, and that is a perfect fit for a guy who seemingly just can't deal with the big pressure of a big city, especially, like I said, like a Philadelphia, like a Boston, like a New York. I think he's going to flourish there, to be honest with you. He can stay healthy, which has been a question mark throughout the course of his career. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to flourish there under Frank Wright. And again, a lot of things so Indianapolis could solve their quarterback issue and could be a Super Bowl contender. And Doug Peterson could be a Super Bowl coach who's going to be hard pressed to find a job in the next couple of years if Frank Wright goes out there and gets Carson Wentz back to the quarterback that he once was. Because then people will say, well, they won that Super Bowl because of Frank Wright, not because of Doug Peterson. And they'll look at Doug Peterson's record without Frank Wright, and they'll look at it and be like, well, he was basically average to mediocre. How much does that Super Bowl really mean? So a lot of things are going to come in play with this trade. But again, I absolutely think Indianapolis won this trade. They did not give up a lot for a guy who I'm sure they think is a franchise quarterback. That's not a lot. It is not a lot of capital at all to give up for a guy that's going to be starting, and a guy who is still young. Beyond a excellent offensive line, great running game. Yeah, they could use another receiver, but you have T.Y. Hilton has proven to be a Pro Bowl caliber receiver for the past 4 or 5 years, and maybe even longer than that, because I had him on fantasy teams back in the day. But again, this is a small city. They call Indianapolis Naptown. He is perfect for this city. So I think Carson Wentz will bounce back into being. I don't think he'll ever be one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I'm not saying that, but I think he will bounce back into being a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback in this system under Frank Wright. A couple things. You saw, if you watched the Australian Open, you saw in the women's game or the ladies' game a changing of the guard. Naomi Ahsoka, she is the Osaka, excuse me. She she is the new queen of women's tennis. She took apart, beat Serena in semifinals in straight sets, and then won the final easily. And she, her fourth major, second Australian Open. She has a couple of U.S. Opens. And it's a matter of time before she wins the other two Grand Slams. It's only a matter. I wouldn't be surprised if she won them this year. To be honest with you, she's going to be around for a while. She's 23 years old, and humble, hardworking, um, very complimentary of course, Serena Williams. Serena Williams was her idol growing up. And I tweeted this last week. I said, yeah, I'll be rooting for Serena, but you know what? Tennis, tennis is a young person's sport for the most part. What Serena's been doing, what Serena has done, what Federer, what Djokovic and Nadal, what those guys, what those players did, it's just something that you just probably will never see again. And just it's just something that is rare beyond in the game of tennis. Tennis has been traditionally for the next, has been a traditionally for players under the age of 25, under the age of 28, definitely under the age of 30. Serena is 39 years old, and I don't think it's a matter of her being a mother. I just think it's a matter of just she's old. I mean, at some point, the wheels are going to come off, and there are ladies out there who hit the ball harder. She does overwhelm you with power anymore. They can return her serve. The serve isn't what it used to be. And again, it was going to happen. At a certain point, I was impressed the fact that she got to the semifinals, and she's gotten to a few finals in the last couple of years of the majors these past 2 or 3 years. Remember, 2015 when she won 3 out of 4 majors. That's a long time ago. It's a long time ago when she was at the top of the sport. So I don't foresee her winning another major. And I think she knows it's over. You saw at the press conference, basically breaking down. I think if I predicted, I think she'll go through all the majors. I think she will play all the majors one last time and have a Andre Agassi like retirement at the U.S. Open come September. And it would be a perfect way for her to go out. That was the beginning. That was the start of her dominance. She won her first Grand Slam there in 1999, and I think that will be a perfect ending to her career at the 2021 U.S. Open. So I think that she will officially retire at the end of the year. She's got a lot of pride. She's not going to hang on and be the 150th ranked player in the world. That's not Serena Williams. You're not going to see Serena Williams getting eliminated in the first round of tournaments or getting beat by girls who don't belong in the same sentence as her. It's just not going to happen. She's way too competitive and just has too much pride for that. She's not going to hang around like that. So I think that this will be it for her this year. As far as Novak Djokovic goes, he's going to be kicking himself based on the fact that he should have 19 majors. Of course, he got disqualified from the U.S. Open for accidentally hitting the lines person, which of course he lost his temper and pulled one of his moves that he would have pulled earlier in his career. That cost him a major, but he is just two majors shy of 20 of catching Nadal, Federer, and Nadal. Nadal will be the favorite, of course, at the French Open as he tries to get that 21st major to pass Federer. But again, everything is lined up for Djokovic to finish number one all time in majors. Everything's lined up. Federer will be 40 this year, and who knows what. I mean, I don't know what Federer has left. I mean, I feel like feeling the same way about him as I do about Serena. Like they probably There are probably no more majors left in that racket. Nadal, I don't know. We'll see if Nadal doesn't win the French Open this year. That'll tell you that might be a sign that he could be done. If he doesn't win the French Open this year, because he's had that tournament on automatic for the better part of the last decade. So that'll be a telling sign. So basically, it's going to come down between Djokovic and Nadal in regards to who's going to finish number one all time in terms of major titles won. You saw, I'm sure most of you saw last night or yesterday, the video that came out with Cam Newton and the young man at this 7-on-7 tournament. Again, listen. So to give you some background, some context on it. Young, 15-year-old football player was, trash talking Cam Newton, saying you're gonna be poor. I guess anticipating Cam Newton's not gonna have a job next year, which we'll see how that transpires. But Cam handled it well, as well as he could possibly handle it, saying, "Who's your dad? I'm rich," and what have you. Listen, I've seen Cam Newton around children in the past, but when he first came in the league, and that Cam Newton that I saw would have handled that situation a whole lot different. And I'll just leave it at that. So he's come a long way from that standpoint in terms of maturing. But I guess the thing that we can try. You can trash a young man all you want. Hey, listen, I work with kids every day for the last 18 years. On a scale of 1 to 10 as far as disrespect, that was about a 5, maybe in a 4.5. It was playful disrespect. It wasn't like this kid needs his ass beat disrespect. There are levels of disrespect. And the young man apologized. And certainly I hope Cam Newton pulled the young man aside, and it could definitely be a teaching moment. The big thing I took from that was the fact that Cam Newton, his standing, of course, in the NFL has fallen, but now that has translated and spilled over into where he's not even respected by, teenagers or up-and-coming football players anymore. I mean, you think 2 years ago that young man would have said that to Cam Newton? I mean, you think about that. Like, this teenager was clowning Cam Newton. Not asking for his autograph, not saying, "Hey, could you sign these shoes?" Not saying, "Yo, I got a poster in my room. I'm a big fan. You're my favorite quarterback." No. Clowning you, basically saying that you're done. Basically saying that you are done. This is a kid. This is not a reporter. This is not ESPN. This is not, NFL beat reporters. No, this is a 15-year-old teenager leaving Cam Newton for dead, basically. And listen, I can't get in Cam Newton's heart or his head, but if I were to guess, that had to hurt. I mean, that, like, when kids have been looking up to you for the past decade, even going back when you were at Auburn, to get to that point to where you were the MVP, to where now you're being clowned by a 15-year-old at a 7-on-7 tournament. It's almost about as low as it can go. I mean, it definitely could get worse. He still has a lot of money. He's still in the league, but that's a tough deal for Cam Newton. That is a tough pill to swallow. It's one thing to be doubted by the media and to be doubted by grown ass fans like myself, but to be doubted by the youth, that's a whole nother level of just, dare I say, embarrassment. It's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. Snowfall on Wednesday, season 4. It'll be very interesting to see see what happens. I possibly we'll be doing a snowfall recap. That's in the works. So be on the lookout for that. Um, I will see you later on in the week with the Real Deal podcast. Have a great Monday evening. As always, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Um, click on you can also comment on the episodes, comment on the content. I appreciate all your listen, all your views and subscribes. Have a great rest of the evening. I'm out.